The other thing, even though we have learned already some of the measures, we need to learn a little bit more about the measure. So measure is two type. One is explicit, one is implicit. One is implicit measure is the calculated columns which we are going to use now at this point of. That's why I hold it until now. So we have two type of measure. One is implicit measure, one is explicit measure. Implicit measure means we are using it in the calculation itself, in the in the columns itself. If you remember in the past example, in the WDI example, World Development Index example, we created a measure by dividing the country GDP by the country population. But we did not do that for every single year into the column itself. We did it as an explicit measure. So explicit measure is on value fields, and it's not shown into the table itself. It's not stored anywhere. It's just a formula which we can reuse or which we can use for our analysis. So it will use the formula, and it's always the context based. Means if we are if in our chart we are taking certain countries, it will calculate only for those countries. If we are taking country by the year, it will recalculate the formula itself and say, okay, how what is the GDP for each year separately, rather than using the columns to calculate the value. So that's the difference. There's a difference between the calculated columns and measure. So that's why, so one we will say as a calculated column, and the other we will call as a measure. But they are both measures. One is implicit, built into the table itself. One is explicit, not built into the table, but just calculated. So these are the two different things. So we are now going to use, so these measures are useful when we are creating more data analysis. So we are going to learn that a little bit in a little bit from now. So both are important. Calculated columns are also important, that I am going to show you now. And the explicit measure are also important because we are going to analyze them data. So calculated columns usually is used when we use them for row columns, or categorize the columns, or for sorting the columns. They are not useful for values and for analysis purposes. We don't use them. We only use them if we need to categorize something, uh, like date tables, that I will explain you in a bit. Now, the value measures are flexible and can be used in any table. In the past, we saw that we created a measure in the country GDP file. We can use this measure in any other table without having to call different names. So that's the benefit of using the measure. If it's a column in a particular table, it's there only. It cannot be used in another table. It has to be called into another table if you want to use it. But with the measures, you don't have to worry about that. Measures are flexible and you can use in any table by just using their names. It can be used to create other measures. So if you have created certain measure, that we will learn now how we can use measure over a measure. Uh, so we will stop here. I will not go into the golden rules. We'll show that separately. And then we will look at the very important aspect of this analysis is that we have the dates here, right? So if let's say we want to calculate the table, the year to date sales for the month sales, last year sales, we cannot do that now because these dates are not in the correct format. Not in the correct format means they are missing dates. Power BI need a static date for that. So how do we create those dates? So we need to go into the new table first. So we need to create a new table. Oops. We go to the report folder, and we need to create a enter data. I think I forgot again. new table. So this table is created new. Now we need to create a date. So the first column is we need to create a column number first, and the column name is going to be date. And now the column will be what? It needs to be a date, starting from one date to another date. So how we are going to do that? We need a formula for that purpose.